When one affliction ends, just open up another. And that's called binge lifing. Cold has been rough, but honestly, Vicks Vapor Rub, been using it like a bottom at Pride, just... Oh, it opens up the sinuses so good. Okay. Hi everyone, and welcome on back to the channel. We are starting with the new weapons that are being introduced for the professions in Guild Wars 2 Secrets of the Obscure. I believe that we're going to be getting a new weapon each day of the week, and for our very first weapon that we're going to be diving into and getting a little taste of, it is the dual-wielding mace for Ranger. They've made a blog post for us and released a 20-second video showing some of the attack animations and some of the spell effects, so we're going to be going over that today. But moving over to the blog post, we have Become a Force of Nature with the Dual-Wielding Mace Ranger. It reads, "Good hunting! My name is Taylor Brooks, and I'm a designer on the Skills and Balance team here at ArenaNet. Expanded weapon proficiencies are coming in 2024 during the second major update for Guild Wars 2 Secrets of the Obscure. Each profession will have access to a new weapon and skills to utilize against the evils of Tyria. Today, I'll be introducing the Ranger's new weapon set, Dual Maces. Wielding maces will allow you to become a Warden of Nature, tapping into the power of the land to support your allies while pummeling your enemies. You'll be able to try out all these new skills along with the new weapons for other professions during our expanded weapon proficiency beta event starting November 28th. Now, the main hand mace and offhand mace are sibling weapons that cover different roles while also synergizing very well together. Main hand mace has strong supportive capabilities through healing and boons. As you strike enemies with mace skills, you'll bolster your bond with the land, gaining a new unique effect called Nature's Strength. Once you've reached 6 stacks of Nature's Strength, the land will grant you its favor, and you'll gain another effect called Force of Nature. Force of Nature will reset your mace cooldowns as you grow large, increasing outgoing damage, healing, and stability. Here's a look at a couple of the Ranger's mace skills. Mace skill 2 is called Flourish, which damages nearby enemies and heals allies simultaneously. Your strike causes the ground beneath you to swell with energy, and after a delay, the ground will burst. The burst deals heavier damage and heals more than the initial strike, and if you hit an enemy with the initial strike, you'll gain Nature's Strength, which they've kind of described. The offhand mace is a more defensive weapon that enhances survivability while also providing some crowd control. Thistleguard, the mace skill 4, is a defensive skill that rewards careful timing in the thick of combat. You cover yourself in bramble armor, gaining barrier and stability for a moment as thorns strike outwards. Hitting an enemy with these thorns will increase the defensive components of this skill while also granting you Nature's Strength. Maces have a fun, versatile kit that can be used with many different playstyles. I'm excited to see how they can be used with existing builds such as Support Druid, or how they can lend to entirely new archetypes, like a Bruiser that defeats their enemies in a moment of power. They do add, and to note, please note, that since this is a beta test, there will be placeholder UI, art, and audio for some of the weapon skills. So for what we know about the dual-wielding mace Ranger, is that it's going to be a little bit more support-oriented in a more physical and melee way, a melee approach than something like Staff Druid, or in this more modern age, just Staff in general. And it seems like the main hand weapon is going to be your primary support, your offhand is going to be a bit more bruisery, which is a good meshing of a main hand offhand archetype, because main hand for Ranger is missing that support feature, while we have some offhand weapons such as the Warhorn that are allowing us to utilize more supportive elements. So something like mace, main hand mace, and offhand Warhorn could be a really exciting support physical brawler situation if you want to be a ranger that's up close and personal while still being able to heal allies, grant them boons, grant them some defensive effects. So I think that's going to be really cool and really awesome to see. As for the offhand, that's going to be your more defensive approach and could be really interesting for something like sword mace if you want to have some of that more bruisery elements, because we currently don't have a shield. I know some rangers I know have been wanting shield, and I think it'd be a cool aesthetic, but all we really had was Warhorn, offhand dagger, torch. I think that this will be a little bit more of that cool pairing for mace, for main hand sword and offhand mace. Also have a video that has been shown to us and previewed, which is really nice. I love when they do videos for these, especially for weapons and skills, because we want to see that visual. We want to see how it looks, how it's going to play, you know? And this is kind of reminiscent of the old Guild Wars 2 skill previews for all the professions. I will say the old ones were a little bit more stylized, a little bit slower, but I understand why it's a bit more fast-paced because of just the way that people consume information nowadays. It makes sense for it to be a faster-paced video. However, I do think that taking inspiration from those would be smart, and especially when I look at this video, the very first thing that stands out to me is the visual component. Not even thinking about how these skills are working in tandem with each other, but just the visuals. And as we can see, we do have some reuse on what we have on Spellbreaker with their yellowy shard effect whenever they I think it's one of their utility skills. It has like these shards coming out of them and expanding. We kind of have that here, but possibly recolored green. Now, when it comes to a major expansion feature such as new weapons, I really want them to go in on expanding the visual playstyle and the visual catalog that they do have, and also making it look grandiose. One thing that really got me hooked into Guild Wars 2 when I was first watching those trailers was the visual gravitas and seeing how beautiful the spell effects were. Before release, they culled all those away because it was a visual cluster. Now, with more options at tuning down the visuals that we see on screen, I think they should lean into making their visuals more big, more exciting, more modern, more detailed. Now, something for Ranger Melee doesn't necessarily lend itself to that because it is very physical. But from the visual effects that I did see, we saw a reuse of the Spellbreaker effect. We see what appears to be a swirling of greenery and flowers, which is already on a signet, and I also think used to be on Rune of the Flock. I know that these might be placeholder art and effects, and I hope that they are. I hope that we do see a little bit more newness than what was presented here, because I was able to just pinpoint I recognize a lot of these visual effects. But granted, reuse isn't bad in and of itself, but when it comes to spell effects, your imagination is the limit, and also budget. So, with that being said, it's just something I would like to see more of in the visual aspect of Guild Wars 2. But this does seem to be a very... it's not super stagnant for the dual maces, because we do see them launching in, we see them rolling back, and they do have a really cool animation at the very end where they are banging both of the maces on the ground, kind of creating these, I assume, AoE shockwaves around them. And that's really cool. When it comes to thorns and the physical imagery of thorns and brambles, I think they used that ability. I think they used Thistle Guard, but it was just that Spellbreaker very momentary effect. I would like to see something kind of wrap the body and kind of protrude more consistently, but it might also just be more of an instant effect skill. So we're gonna have to see. And they have a bear. I wonder how this weapon set is going to interact with the pet as well, because if I'm not mistaken, there's usually one ability on each weapon that kind of enhances or augments the way the pet works. And I also hope to see that some of these abilities are blast finishers, because we have the new relic of Karakosa, where when you blast in a field, you heal allies around you as well. And I think that this would fit very well on the Ranger, because a lot of their abilities seem to be like pounding and hitting the ground. But that was the new weapon set for the Ranger, the main hand and offhand mace. How are you all feeling about main hand offhand mace for Ranger? It wasn't my go-to, I will say, but I think that they executed it pretty well. Having it be a more support-oriented weapon set was not necessarily my go-to. I thought it'd be a bit more defensive, maybe granting barrier interacting with Taunt, maybe? I'm always going to bring up Taunt because it is the lost child in the conversation of gameplay in Guild Wars 2. But how are you all feeling about it? Do you like it? Did you want maces? Did you want another weapon? Is there another weapon after this that you'd like to see for Ranger? Personally, I'd like to see Shield. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Leave a comment down below. Comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And we'll be back maybe tomorrow with the next weapon set. Smell some more Vicks. Not sponsored, but oh my god. That's nice. Okay, I'll see y'all later. Bye.